not putting my mic up there. When I plugged my mic in and I was going to put one of the receivers just on the podium, it started to do weird stuff. So I'm like, I don't want to ruin. And we're close to speakers right there. Ready? Hi, everybody. We're going to go live in just a minute to show the start of the LMA conference. So stay tuned. Glad you're here. Is it on? Is that you? Awesome to be here. Did you just comment? Oh, it just says Facebook user. Whoever just made that comment, thank you. But it just says Facebook user. So feel free to tell me who you are. And if StreamYard is asking you to click on a link so that you can be identified, go ahead and click on that link. Obviously, you know that's Roy. Roy Sexton for the uninitiated. I don't know if you can hear me because it's loud in here. But if you are on Facebook, then you need to click on a link. If you see a link anywhere near you that says StreamYard needs your permission to show your identity, go ahead and click on that, because if not, then it's just going to show you as Facebook user. It won't show me your name. So just a little tip, and it's just a requirement of StreamYards because they're protecting the privacy of people. All right. Am I giving you enough room? No, it's you.
I didn't want to crowd these.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Do not crowd me. And Nancy. I mean, come on. I would love to turn this around and just give a, but I'm like, no, my tripod is square. All right, we're getting ready to start, everybody. So here we go. Here we go.
Good morning, everyone. Please welcome your LMA 2024 President, Jeffrey Iredale.
Yeah, baby. Turn his mic on. They're not. They don't have you on. Are you on here? On your waist?
How we doing here?
There we go.
LMA annual conference. It's truly thrilling for me to be here and see more than 1,200 of you here, representing at least 18 countries this year. And can I get a show of hands? How many people have been? How many people is this your first LMA? First timers. This is unbelievable. So I remember my first LMA conference about maybe 20 years ago. I won't bore you with ancient history, but I will tell you that the theme of this year's conference is relevant to my journey in LMA. I was a young, fairly new marketing manager, and I volunteered / asked if I could go to LMA, and I was told, if you go, you got to go all in. You got to go to the sessions. You got to go to the marketplace. You got to go to the networking events. I want you to volunteer for a committee, and I want you to get involved. So that advice has served me well. So I invite all of you to go all in and take advantage of this conference and all that this special community has to offer. As an association, we appreciate you committing your time and resources to attend this conference. We really do. So we want you to treat this as an investment in your professional and personal development that it really is. Our goal is to deliver a robust, evidence-based educational program that's actionable, with fresh content and ample opportunities for quality networking and access to the top solution providers in the industry. We have over 90 exhibitors down in the marketplace. We have more than 35 educational sessions featuring an astounding 140 high caliber speakers in this fantastic lineup. They are all here to make your attendance worth it. So let's go all in on this conference for the next 48 hours. Now, before we jump further into content, personally, one of my individual aspirations in life is to try to leave things in a better state than when I found them. And I think that's really true of LMA too. When we were planning this conference and contemplating the location, entertainment, programming, we took a lot of things into consideration. So not just convenience and the beautiful location, but also the social and environmental impacts. And most importantly, the community. I am very proud to share that as part of this year's conference, we are supporting the community here at San Diego by hosting the Voices of Our City Choir. Voices of Our City amplifies the voices of people impacted by homelessness in the San Diego area through music and the arts. Choir members develop renewed hope, personal empowerment, and life skills that achieve their goals. Let's take a look.
As of 2023, there were over 10,000 people experiencing homelessness in San Diego. Some unsheltered neighbors told us that they walked over 10 miles a day to find food, to find help, and to avoid being ticketed for sleeping outdoors. When you are living outdoors, where can you go to exhale, to laugh, and to dream, to feel alive, and to sing, to be? Voices of Our City is a safe, creative community for San Diegans experiencing homelessness, a place with song to belong. Voices of Our City amplifies the voices of people impacted by homelessness through music and the arts. Members develop renewed hope, personal empowerment, and the life skills to achieve their goals. At Voices of Our City, we use music and art to help people change their lives. It starts first with an invitation. For some, our mobile shower program is where our relationship begins. Our showers provide an opportunity for participants to feel truly ready for the day. We know that healing happens in community. Our open choir rehearsals start off the week with approximately 100 people coming together to sing and feel human connection. We begin by breathing, stretching our bodies and minds by setting personal intentions. Followed by a nutritious meal, participants are invited to join the community by becoming a member. As members, they have access to a wide variety of creative and wellness workshops offered throughout the week. Performance Choir meets regularly, preparing original songs and music for performances throughout the year. Members are also invited to schedule time in our recording studio where they work one-on-one with a team member, further expanding their confidence through artistic development. Through self-expression workshops in song composition, writing, painting, and acting, our members' personal experiences find a vehicle for transformation. Our member services team offers support in helping our members find solutions to life's challenges. This could include anything from housing assistance to employment opportunities to food insecurity. Voices of Our City is a place to experience friendship, acceptance, and nourishment of the mind, body, and soul. We envision a city where every person living on the streets has the opportunity to find joy, heal, and freely express themselves. Voices of Our City, choir, creative, community. This is the Voices of Our City Choir.
Yeah.
It's a choir I started about 4 years ago for people experiencing homelessness in San Diego.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What an amazing idea.
There were so many people living unsheltered in my neighborhood. I met musicians and singers, and I was like, wow, we could put together a group and sing together.
Yeah.
There's people who are in the choir, they can't afford medicine, they can't afford rent, so we help them out.
Right.
And through the money that we've raised, we've helped people get off the street.
Wow. What's the song you're going to do?
The choir actually wrote the song.
Oh, wow.
We have a songwriting workshop.
Okay, good. Let's see what happens in the next 2 or 3 minutes.
Awesome.
Listen to the sounds of the sidewalk. Listen to the sounds of the sidewalk. And I got the music in my soul, and I got the hope for tomorrow. Listen to the sounds of the sidewalk. Rolling on the pavement with no 1, 2 feet. Cruising steady, rolling easy down the street. Even though I'm not quite back up on my feet, I'm helping myself stand up independently. Oh, for tomorrow, my dignity inside. What's mine is yours tomorrow. Together we touch the sky. Tomorrow is your black in your heart. The future is golden. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Listen to the sound of the sidewalk. Listen to the sound of the sidewalk. I got the music in my soul. I got the hope for tomorrow. Listen to the sound of the sidewalk. Baby's falling down into a paper cup. Yes, I've never known it trying to look up. But the swollen baby's trying not to cry. Strangers shouting verses trying to teach me why.
Searching, restless arms reaching, up balance going down, with the chaos all around. And a mother reassures us everything will be all right as she steps in rhythm to the sound of the sidewalk.
Listen to the sound of the sidewalk. Listen to the sound of the sidewalk. I got the music in my soul, and I got the hope for tomorrow. Time to look into each other's eyes. Never find our common spirit on the rise. To the grit and grind that won't be back online. Changing failure into dreams I set apart. Goals for tomorrow. Nothing can take us by. What's mine goes tomorrow. Together we touch the sky. Feeling alright. Hey, going, listen to the sound of cry. Listen to the sound of cry. Listen to the sound of cry. Listen to the sound of cry.
Keep going, yeah.
Four.
How amazing is that? So that was awesome, beautiful, inspiring, and I hope you'll be inspired as well. LMA has made a donation to Voices of Our City, and through this QR code up on screen, I ask you to reach deep and also make a contribution. You think about it, 1,200 of us here, we all donated $10. That's $12,000. So if you don't get a chance to snap this, we're going to have these signs out at the registration desk, and we're going to have them tonight at the evening reception. So, please think about it. Help us leave San Diego a better place than what we got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, continuing with the theme of proud accomplishments, when I stepped into the role as president in January, we were without a chief executive on our staff. So after an exhaustive and exhausting search, I am proud that Ashley Stanger
Thank you, Kevin. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
It's my honor to join LMA as your new CEO. I'm so happy to be here, and I look forward to meeting and talking with many of you over the next few days. This is certainly a vibrant group of innovative and forward-thinking professionals, and you can feel the energy in the room. I've been saying that to everybody all week. LMA continues to be the hub and connection point for our global community, advocating for our profession and equipping our members with thought leadership, education, information, and connections to support your career success. The entire LMA Board of Directors has done incredible work staying focused on LMA's strategic goals and helping the organization grow its strength and offerings as we expand globally. I want to also acknowledge, of course, the driving force behind LMA, our more than 400 volunteer leaders. You'll be able to spot them by their festive ribbons on their name badge. Please look for them, say hello, they're everywhere. Along with our dedicated board, including our gracious leader, Kevin, and our fantastic LMA staff, making LMA the forward-thinking, resource-providing global home for the legal marketing and business development profession couldn't be done without the tireless work of our volunteers who give their time and expertise to make LMA what it is. Thank you for leading and driving change in our industry and helping move LMA forward. For those who are interested in getting more involved in LMA, be sure to talk to one of the volunteers here, hear about their experience around the halls over the next couple of days. We would also love for you to be a part of our future leadership team, please consider throwing your hat into the ring through LMA's year-round call for volunteers or pipeline to volunteer leadership. It's available on the LMA website. We also want to thank those who have stepped up to be mentors for our mentors and mentees for our mentor-mentee program. This unique opportunity offers a way to exchange information, impart wisdom, and share years of experience, make connections, and bring into LMA into the fold our newest members. This year, we had more than 150 people participating. You saw them last night at our welcome reception, in addition to our 375 first-timers. So that's incredible. Thank you all so much for being here. We hope you enjoyed learning and getting to know our legal marketing community over these next 2 days. LMA is a vibrant and growing organization, and we continue to add valuable programs and services. And over the past year and today, launching today, is LMA's Body of Knowledge, or the BOK. It's our professional's blueprint for all that encompasses our skill set. So please stop by the registration desk because you can pick one up today at 50% off. The newest version of the BOK is a result of countless hours of diligent work of LMA's incredible Education Advisory Council and many other thought leaders in our industry. It includes more advanced skills across all areas, new competencies that show our profession has advanced throughout the years. This is an invaluable collection of detailed skill sets and that make up the legal marketing and business development profession, and it can be used for recruiting, professional development, team management, and I hope you'll stop by and pick one up. Now, we all know that our regions are really at the heart of LMA, and we'd like to thank all 8 of them for really going all in and encouraging our members to come together as one LMA. We'd also like to recognize West, who had the highest percentage numbers of attendees. West won Race of the Regions this year, and they enjoyed their own private reception at last night's awesome welcome reception. We truly appreciate our regions where so much of what makes LMA special happen. And now I'm going to turn it back to Kevin to announce our 2024 Hall of Fame inductees and introduce our annual conference advisory committee co-chairs.
Congratulations again to the West region. I thought my badge would actually get me into that reception, but I had to stay on the outside. So, but congratulations. Well done. And speaking of congratulations, I am excited to recognize 4 2024 LMA Hall of Fame inductees. Woo! If you don't know the Hall of Fame, recognizes outstanding achievement of these individuals in the legal marketing industry and their significant contributions to the association. Hall of Fame inductees have demonstrated a history of sustained commitment to the advancement of the profession and significant contributions to LMA, in addition to conducting themselves with professionalism among their peers. I personally know each of our inductees this year, and I'm proud to be here to unveil them to you. Jill Hughes, co-founder and chief strategy officer of Society 54. Representative consultant in legal marketing and business development, expert in marketing. Olivia Sleeper, managing director at Growth Flag. Chief business development officer, Carlson Brady. We are actually going to present the awards, and we're going to watch their video induction. But I felt it was important to share with you today who they are, so that you can celebrate and congratulate them throughout the day today and tomorrow.
Nice.
Now, as you can imagine, it's quite an endeavor to develop and pull off a conference of this magnitude. But I did do it all by myself. Obviously, that's not the case. We had an incredible annual conference advisory committee who worked tirelessly for months on this. Please join me in welcoming our annual conference co-chairs this year, Amber Goldman, Morgan McLeod, and Catherine Whitaker.
Good morning, LMA. We are so glad to finally be here with you all in San Diego after 11 months of preparation. We are all in now. We're very excited to be here. This has been one of my favorite volunteer experiences with LMA, and the reason for that, I think, in large part, is because of the amazing LMA education team and the annual conference advisory committee members that we got to work with. So we want to take a minute to recognize them. And if you call your name, please smile and give us a little wave, if you will. We'll hold another round of applause till the end. But our annual conference advisory committee includes Mustafa Abdel Cutter, Maziel Brego, Robert Algieri, Reese Calcutt, Alan Chichester, Julie Eichelbaum, Rafita Keys, Amanda Lindley, Brooke Fox, and Bianca Madrigal. Please stand. Thank you all.
All right, let's give them another round of applause.
Hi, everyone. We got off to an amazing start yesterday with the LMA 24 pre-programmed conferences. We had 5 full-day conferences yesterday, and we added 2. Brainchild, a little bit of Gavin and the entire committee, but we had 2 new ones, business development and innovation, that were fantastic. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you met some new friends and come away with a lot of great insights. Thank you especially to all the pre-conference program chairs. They did an exceptional job planning the sessions, organizing the speakers. And a little bit of a shameless plug. I don't want you to miss tomorrow's in-house council panel that I will be moderating. We have a fantastic session this year, and it will not disappoint. We have 4 panelists coming, and they are going to talk about how to propel your clients' businesses forward. They'll share some great innovative concepts from their unique in-house perspectives.
Yeah, that panel is going to be fabulous. Highly recommend attend if you can. And again, I think I speak for the entire committee. We have had a blast putting this together, and I hope as you're here this week, you find the content to be impactful, evidence-based, and full of good tips and ideas that you can take back to work with you when you leave the conference. So it's been a blast to work on. And we couldn't do any of this without the support of our sponsors. So let's give them a round of applause. Our gold sponsors, our silk sponsors. Again, as you're at the conference, if you see these people, thank them, shake their hand, give them a shout out. We couldn't do this without them. Thanks as well to Giddings Global. You'll see the folks with the cameras, shooting video, taking photos that you'll see after the conference on social media and later in the conference as well. So thank you to Giddings. And thank you as well to our valuable supporters, again, listed on the screen. Everybody give a round of applause.
Thank you all, really. Great job. So Catherine mentioned the inspiring journey the advisory committee had in putting this annual conference together over the last year. And this year's keynote has also had an inspiring journey in her professional career. But before we get to her, I do want to take a moment to thank our session sponsor this morning, Latera. And we're going to watch a little bit about Latera now.
All right. Let's get into our questions.
All right, so as the annual conference advisory committee thought about the kind of keynote speaker that we wanted, we looked for somebody who embodied the all-in theme and mindset. And this year's keynote, she does every bit of that. Now, before I introduce her, I do want to tell you that I tried to get Taylor Swift. But she's currently prepping for the European whatever.
Whatever.
Oh.
I know. But our keynote speaker,
Much
she
better.
has an era tour of her own. From being a corporate executive at a Fortune 500 company to various leadership roles at one of the largest law firms to her current era. She has blazed trails over the course of her 25-year career, and in February became the first U.S. businesswoman to lead an AmLaw 100 firm as chief executive.
Business is an infinite game. Partners, trusted advisors, and advocates for the long term. That is not known out there. Let me tell you, that is really uncommon. I know this, when you're uncommon, people will doubt you. People won't understand you. But through that, know that it's more than okay. It's worth it. We have the opportunity to change the game. So here's to the power of you. Here's to the power of us. Let's go show them what uncommon living is.
Please join me in welcoming Much Blackwell Chief Executive Jamie Wallace.
All right. Well, good morning, LMA, beautiful San Diego. You know, I made a realization when I was backstage about 15 minutes ago. And that was that I will never, for the rest of my life, have an act that is harder to follow than the voices of our city choir. Absolutely phenomenal. But I'm out here, so I'll try. How about that? So I want to start by asking everyone in the room a question. And since I can't see most of you because these lights are so bright, I'll ask for a round of applause if the question that I ask is something that you relate to. So question number one is, give me a round of applause if you have ever compromised one thing, could be all in, and something else. Now I'd like to ask for a round of applause from those of you who have somehow mastered the art of being able to be all in across every aspect of your life at the same time. Wow, so when I was rehearsing this, I thought there'd be at least one person clapping, and I was gonna say, good for you. So I'm gonna pivot a bit, because I want to get the juices flowing. I think all in is very personal and it means something different to each of us. And you'll all get something different out of being together for the next couple of days. And I think that's partly due to the fact that depending on the industry you're in, there are up to, believe it or not, 5 generations in the workforce today. And so I'd like to get a feel for the generational mix in the room this morning. So we're going to do the round of applause stuff again. If you, as a child, considered an Etch-a-Sketch your iPad, round of applause. All right, Gen X. If you can name all 4 members of the Beatles, round of applause. Got some baby boomers in the room and maybe Gen Xers who listen to them when their parents would play their music in the car or everywhere, actually. Okay, so give me a round of applause if you waited anxiously for must-see TV every Thursday night to watch the latest episode of Friends, because it sure wasn't streaming for them. All right, a couple more. Round of applause if you Snapchat more than you do anything else. All right.
Wow.
Last question. Round of applause if you've been to the Taylor Swift concert. So we can all relate to one another, which is fantastic. So I love understanding the dynamics of the generations that I engage with and lead, because I believe that the biggest disruptor that any leader in business or law will have to really come to terms with is how to lead, motivate, and inspire those 5 generations that are in the workforce today. And just to be clear, I'm not here today to tell you where to be all in or certain aspects of your life that you should focus more on other than others. I'm here to tell my truth, the truth and nothing but the truth. I'm here to share some lessons that I've learned through my eras, the eras of my career, and hopefully do my best to reach all the generations that are in the room today. And through this story, if I inspire one person, then making the trip from Tampa, Florida to beautiful San Diego will be well worth the trip. So let me give some context setting. Who am I? Well, we know I'm not Taylor Swift. I'm not in the choir of our city. Did I say that right? I'm just so starstruck by them. I'm not in the choir. But some of you might be thinking, like, who is this person? Why did they get up early to come to this keynote? By the way, my hotel room shared a wall with the octopus party last night.
Paso. The Paso party.
Late, so thank goodness for earplugs. I'm
Way to go, Paso.
noise you can actually play on your iPhone. I didn't know that. But, hey,
Well played, Paso.
told me about that last night. So thanks for getting up. So let me talk a little bit about perhaps my endeavor. And I'll start with the personal. So I'm a wife. I'm a stepmom with 4 kids. I am a sister, an aunt, a daughter, and I hope I'm a pretty good friend. I have a bachelor's degree in marketing, like many of you, and I earned that degree at Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey. Are you rah-rah? Okay, awesome. I do not have an advanced degree, although I have invested in myself over the years through both self-funding executive education programs and seeking funding from the employers that I work with. And guess what, guys and gals? I'm not a lawyer. All right, well, let's give it up. But I am a business executive leading in the legal space, like so many of you in the room today. And I'm the first woman who's not a lawyer by trade to be empowered and elected to run an Am Law 100 firm. Thank you for the support, too. That's all I can say. Thank you. All right, so how the heck did that happen? Honestly, I had to reflect quite a bit to understand the how and equally the why. And that's what I'd like to share with you today. The eras of my professional journey that brought me to this stage. Times when I was all in and in different ways. What's funny is that when you're called upon to tell your own story, you're the only one who can write it. So being in the room with thousands of storytellers today, I'm sure you could appreciate how much we rely on you all, right? To tell the story of our firms, financial successes, legal trends. You guys get the idea. But to tell the story yourself, you can't rely on talented communications teams, PR agencies, or media experts. You need to dig deep and you need to be really honest with yourself and ask yourself questions like, how did I get here? Did I do something special?
that I always want to get to this place? And am I happy now that I'm here? You have to go deep, but I don't think that's something we give ourselves time to do as often as we should. Sure, we coach and counsel our teams, and we help them reflect on how they've gotten to where they are in their professional journeys. But rarely do we stop and do it for ourselves. So I want to thank the LMA for giving me a reason to stop and reflect on the last, actually, 26 years, Kevin. I'm a little older than you gave me credit for. I'll be 48 next month. And so that means I've actually been working for 26 years. Have I worked with the same level of intensity for those 26 years? No. The areas of my career were filled with ups and downs, wins and losses. Times when I wanted to escape the daily grind, and times in my life when nothing felt more comfortable than being on the hamster wheel. It's the truth. Thanks, someone laughed at that. None of this was planned, but I do believe that all of it was meant to be. You'll hear me reference several themes today that were consistent throughout my journey, and when I chose to be all in and on what. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my Eras Tour. Era 1. By the way, there's a whole debate over is it era or era? Era. Era 1, you guys get the picture. The formative years. So here's the definition of formative: having a lasting influence on a person's development. So don't be surprised if I spend most of my time this morning talking about these 15 years that span my professional journey. Because the skills and the traits that I developed during my formative era are the same traits and skills that inform every business decision I make as a more seasoned leader, if you will. I spent my early years working in New York City, but spending most of my weekdays in a Marriott hotel. I love you, Marriott. Thanks to many of my consulting clients who happen to be based in South Jersey. I was proud to be gainfully employed, right? Very proud, but I was working to live. In the beginning of, I think we have a mic issue. Please hold.
So,
Should I dance or?
yeah, go ahead.
Taylor Swift.
Do the Taylor Swift
Taylor
walk
Swift
back and
is
forth.
here.
Yeah.
You guys want to stretch?
There we go.
All right, awesome, here we go. I love these human moments because it happens all the time.
Yeah.
You guys know that.
All good.
All right, all good. So anyway, in the beginning, work was a means to an end. I was living paycheck to paycheck, which meant I was living in tiny apartments with lots of roommates until I eventually landed a rent-controlled studio apartment in East Village in New York City, where I slept in a storage loft until I was 32. Yeah, you heard me right, I was 32. Still sleeping in a storage loft. But I was all in on experiencing New York City. I was eating at the best restaurants. I was spending my Sundays strolling for miles and miles, as those of you who live in New York City know is one of the best things to do. I was buying really expensive bags and maxing my credit cards. Yep. I was working. Well, ironically, most of my friends from Rutgers were attending law school. Life is ironic. So I started my professional career at Accenture, and it was so long ago that the name of the organization was Anderson Consulting.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that, Anderson? And I was there during the arbitration, and for those of you who don't know, Accenture the name came to be because they did a contest. Right? And an employee won the contest, and Accenture meant accent on the future. So you guys are creators, so if you didn't know that, you're welcome. But what this meant was landing a job there, and I was a supply chain consultant, meant that very early on I had access to Fortune 100 leaders, right? I was in the boardroom of J&J, Johnson & Johnson, Bristol Myers Squibb, Sony, Ricoh Electronics. I wasn't leading the discussions, but I was taking it all in. I was picking up on the traits that I really appreciated and found had impact. But equally, I was learning the traits and leaders that I didn't find to be so useful. And I learned very early on that, particularly in the service business, which we're all in, relationships are everything. Our partners, our service partners at Accenture were obsessed with delivering the best client experience. And I've been fortunate to work at organizations who have continued to demonstrate that obsession. This company was massive, so my scope was pretty small. But I think what I observed by listening and watching, being in the room and having a seat at the table was more valuable than perhaps an MBA. So my advice to the Gen Zers, those Snapchatters in the room, you guys are way back. I'm so bad. I'm so far back. All right, so it sounds like you're over there. So take advantage of being around people who know their stuff. Watch, listen, emulate what you like, and disregard what you don't find useful. Ask to join a big client pitch, attend a client meeting, sit in the room while someone senior makes a difficult call, perhaps to a prospect or a client. Ask to shadow someone in a senior position for a day. Trust me, we want to help. And I think observing is one of the most important things you can do when you're starting your professional journey. And my reminder for leaders in the room is to never underestimate what a long shadow you cast. One of the best chief people officers I've ever worked with was Peter May. We were together in Baker McKenzie. Some of you may know Peter. They always talked about the long shadow that we cast as leaders. What we say and how we act has an impact. There's another great quote that I love that says something to the effect of, act like your future is watching, because they are.
Mm-hmm.
So after 5 years at Accenture, I was eager to join a smaller company where I wouldn't have to live in a hotel 4 nights a week. I could be in the city with my friends and hopefully not travel as much. So through a relationship, you're going to hear me talk about relationships a lot. Through a relationship, I landed an interview at a boutique recruiting and business process outsourcing company in New York City, on 40th Street. This company was led by a CEO who saw something in me early on. And so he got me involved in everything. I learned more during those 10 years than any other era because I was involved in every aspect of the business, from pitching deals to the likes of Bank of America, Proskauer, Mayer Brown, Aiken, probably every firm that's in here. JetBlue, Lufthansa, JP Morgan Chase, lots of really cool clients. But I was involved in everything from pitching those deals to implementing the solutions and then eventually leading our client delivery and client experience teams. And that was really my foray into legal because half of our client base was represented on the AM100. Don't get me wrong, during this time I made all the rookie mistakes. I missed major project deadlines, probably for a firm that's in the room, sorry. It was a records management project. I became friends with people that worked for me and then had to release that person, right? All these lessons that you learn when you are what not to do when you're growing in your career. We've all been there. But with that, the CEO continued to have an interest in me, and the leadership team had me on their radar. I was given more management responsibility, eventually brought into even more complex pitches, and by the ripe old age of 27 was elected to that organization's leadership team. I was collaborating with business and AmLaw leaders to basically do 3 things: to improve the services that were being provided internally at the firm, to take better care of the people in those roles, and to drop money back into the bottom line. Right? 3 things that I think all of us working in law firms strive to do on a regular basis. I was leaning into the leadership traits that I had observed at Accenture, but also finding my own ways to get things done. And a lot of that had to do with relationship building and building trust. In fact, I started living to work. I was all in. During this transformation from working to live to living to work, my New York City friends started adulting, which meant they got married, started living in New York City, and going to the burbs. During this time, I was also faced with the devastating news of my father's cancer diagnosis. And that really propelled me into the arms of the best coping mechanism I could find, and that was work. So some context on my dad. He's my hero. He's the first person who told me that I could have anything, but not everything. He's the kind of dad who would make MTV music videos with me in the backyard in middle school. Drive me to open call auditions. I was a theater kid. I know it's hard to believe. He actually drove to Rutgers, picked me up, to drive me to my final interview at Anderson Consulting, New York City, because I was a little nervous about the training schedule. And that's just what he did. He was fearless, he was invincible, a hopeless optimist. So at the time, this was devastating news because it's the first time I had encountered something that wasn't so great in my life and so close to my family. But thanks to my dad's relentless pursuit, optimism, and the brilliant work of Dana Farber, their cancer facility in Boston, my dad is now in full remission.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
But at the time, the only way I could cope was to work, right? And so I would be all in on my job. Working would no longer be a means to an end. It was something I would pour myself into, and honestly, that's the defining moment of my life. I think I was 30 years old, 29, when I became a workaholic. But hey, it was the best coping mechanism for me at the time. So I worked and I worked. I missed a lot of family events. I spent every weekend responding to RFP proposals in the Starbucks on the corner of 9th Street and 2nd Avenue. I wonder if it's still there in East Village. Because work was my escape, it was my excuse, it was my safe space. And it started to become my identity. I actually treated first dates like job interviews. I was so annoying. That's probably why no one ever went out with me a second time. I talked about work ad nauseum to anyone who listened. And I started to forget how to just be me. So after about 5 years of working with this intensity, I was burnt out. The opposite of all in, I suppose. So what did I do? I quit. I quit my job without a new job in sight. This is what you can do when you're 28 or 29 years old. Gen Z, you've got a limit on how long you can do this stuff for. So I resigned. I was driving across the George Washington Bridge in a car I had rented to do a site tour, a walkthrough of BMW, which was a big fish we were dealing in Jersey. I got my BlackBerry out. Should have asked for you to applaud that you know the BlackBerry. I got my BlackBerry out. And I wrote 2 words to the CEO who believed in me. I said, I'm done. And then I chucked it in the back of the car and continued driving back to return the car and then back to the East Village. At least I tried to resign. So a couple days passed and this CEO said, let's meet for lunch. And so, okay, I did. And he said, instead of resigning, take a sabbatical. Refresh, recharge, take the summer. This was like June when I quit. Take the summer and then we'll talk when you're done. So I spent that summer traveling through Greece with a friend whose family still lived on one of the islands, Kefalonia. And I drove up and down the West Coast a bunch of times. Loved the West Coast, loved California. And after that, I concluded that it was time to give another big city a shot. I guess you could say after the sabbatical, I was all in on getting back to work, but not in New York City. I wanted to live in Los Angeles, like LC from the hills. You can get so much away about your generations. So when I reunited with the same CEO at the end of the summer, I tried to resign again because we didn't have an office on the West Coast. Then to my surprise, I was unsuccessful resigning for the second time. Because he looked at me, he paused, and I'll never forget it. We were at Union Square, eating at a restaurant that I don't think is there anymore. He said, don't resign, go build the West Coast marketing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You hear me talk a lot about stretch opportunities and stretch goals. I had never built a company. I had no contacts in California or on the West Coast, no connections. But what I did have was the confidence of a leader who knew I'd go all in making sure that it was a successful venture. He knew that about me. So by the time I left my small studio apartment in the East Village, I was a vice president, sleeping in a storage loft. Yep, the vice president sleeping in a storage loft. But I was excited. I said, okay, I'm going to be all in. I'm going to work nonstop. I'm going to be all in on making sure that this company is successful in the Western United States. So building a business there that serviced both companies and law firms was so successful that a couple of years later, I was asked to do the same in the Mid-Atlantic. So I eventually packed up my then one-bedroom apartment in West Hollywood. I was moving up, one bedroom, and I moved to another one bedroom in Washington, D.C. and built that market. It's kind of like a wash, rinse, and repeat type of situation. And it's fascinating because in a subsequent area, you'll hear that I did something similar for Baker McKenzie. So all of this time of being all in, I was meeting, engaging with, and collaborating with talented leaders in the AmLaw space and the Fortune 500 space as well. I had access to the inside operations of hundreds of organizations. By that time, I was 34. And so lessons learned from that era. For Gen Z, don't be afraid to ask for stretch opportunities. They will significantly impact the speed in which you rise within an organization or your industry. And for those more work experience, I think it's incumbent upon us to create stretch opportunities for those that we lead. Empower our teams to do more than they think they can do, but have their back and be a safety net when they trip and fall, because we all do. Era 2, becoming a chief. Okay, so landing the COO role at Baker McKenzie in their DC office was no easy feat. In fact, I was pretty certain that it was never going to happen. That opportunity came about through a contact that I had at Inc. & Gump. I know Inc. & Gump's CMO is in the room because John Sixthake told me you're here, so wherever you are, I gotta meet you later. So it's having lunch with the executive director of Inc. & Gump in Washington, D.C. He was a prospect. I had tried unsuccessfully to sell him outsourcing services. And he knew of an opening at Baker McKenzie, and it was a COO role in Washington, D.C. He was good friends with the managing partner, Liz. And he said, I think you should go for it. And I was kind of like, offer? Internal? I don't know. There's no typical serpent. He's like, just go for it. And of course, it was Baker McKenzie. So it was, at the time, it was the largest firm in the world. So the interview process was very long. It was 8 months. And I had so many skeptics to win over, right? But Liz, the managing partner of the DC office, who's now the managing partner of Mayor Brown's DC office, in case Mayor Brown's in, she was a big thinker, and she knew that bringing someone in with a business background would be game changing. And that was the move that she wanted to make. So together, she and I spent 8 months trying to convince the rest of the partners, because I had never worked inside a law firm. I had never been a chief. And at the time, I was actually living back up in New York. So leading into my business development experience, I decided to treat the interview process as I would a very big deal I was trying to close. I would go all in to land this deal, or in this case, this job. I would sell myself, without selling. You all know how that goes. And I presented a business case that was too compelling for anyone in that operation to say no to. For example, at the time, Baker was #1 in the AmLaw. So I went to this local chocolatier and I had these little chocolate globes made.
Wow.
And I placed them in everybody's seat during the interviews. So I placed this chocolate glove. I did a presentation, why Jamie Lawless, okay, at my interview.
Wow.
I know, it sounds.
It's great.
I asked at the end of every interview panel, I was like, if I can improve service, take better care of the people, and throw money back into your bottom line, why wouldn't you hire me? Classic sales stuff. But I was looking to stand out, right? I was looking to differentiate. And I knew enough about business development to know that, and you all know this, what a client or a user of your services appreciates is not what you delivered that they expected, not what they've asked for. It's the 1 or 2 things that you do that are above and beyond the expectations. And so that's exactly what I was trying to do. So I worked my butt off, and I eventually got the job. So now I'd be all in on making the most of that stretch opportunity. So I was back in New York at this time, as I mentioned, so this meant renting a second apartment in Washington, D.C., self-funding weekly train rides on the Acela train. For those of you who know, that is not cheap. And I leave my now husband every Monday through Thursday, and eventually shag my golden retriever, my baby. And the learning curve was really, really steep. It was really steep. So I was all in on overcoming that obstacle. And I had to make some difficult internal changes early on, which I think built a lot of credibility. I had to make some decisions and some changes that others were not, I would say, brave enough to make. And so that was really game changing as far as building credibility in that office, but beyond. Because my time at Baker McKenzie would end up being a wonderful journey of stretch opportunity after stretch opportunity. I was there for 10 years, but no 2 years were the same. I held about 4 leadership positions from local to global and everything in between. And that's because I worked for leaders, gave me opportunities, and because I decided to be all in those opportunities. So about 3 years in, I was the COO of the Washington, D.C. and New York offices, and I was traveling back and forth every week. And about 3 years into that experience at Baker, I faced the personal diagnosis of infertility. And so using the tools that I perfected during my father's diagnosis, I once again used work as a coping mechanism. I would be all in even more. Don't get me wrong, this news was devastating. And looking back, I know I fell into a deep depression that was literally haunting me in the backdrop of a seemingly successful career in life. I missed many milestones in my college friends' lives because they were at the stage of their lives where they were having babies. And it was too painful to go to baby showers and little kid birthday parties. I knew that if I had been all in with my friends during that period of my life, I would have lost myself. But on the flip side, I was also in a great relationship. And that relationship resulted in a marriage. And my husband's aunt and uncle are sitting at the front table this morning, and I'm very, very grateful that they're here. So to this day, and you can tell him that I've said this, he's been the most influential support and really mentor in the second half of my career, kind of years 2 and 3. Choosing the right partner is really important because it is. And the compromises that he's made in his personal and professional life to be all in and supporting my ambitions are too many to name. So we got married, and after our wedding, I was starting to feel like I had it all, or at least I was trying to balance everything. I was married, we were finally living together, I was traveling so much, and then bam, Baker McKenzie said, "Would you like to be our global chief of staff?" Sure. I would take on a global role, and that meant that I traveled on a really, really, really frequent basis. In fact, I think I went to 17 or 18 countries in about 2.5 years during that role.
Wow.
But it was the best professional and personal experience ever because I was able to test my relationship building skills cross-border and cross time zones. In fact, I hear that there's 15 countries that are represented here in this room today. So that's so incredible. So during this chief of staff role, we were working on a global reorganization project, and we realized that we needed to build a shared service center in North America. That eventually ended up being appointed to move to Tampa, Florida, and build a 300-person shared service center. But I'll talk a little bit about how that came to be. It was a conversation I was having with our global COO, Jason. We were on a patio, might have been a Marriott, it was in Orange County, California. We were attending our firm's regional retreat. And I was getting a little bit antsy because I had done the chief of staff thing for a few years. The travel was hard. And I couldn't quite see what was next. And so Jason, very similar to the COO, CEO that I talked about 10 years prior, looked at me and said, "Well, go build and lead the Tampa Center then." Move down there, build the shared service center. And so I got at the time, probably a taxi. I don't even know if Ubers were a thing yet, but I was at LAX and I called my husband and I said, "I think I need to move to Florida and do this thing, because if I don't, I will regret it till the day I die." And to that, he said, "Go do it. We'll figure it out." Building the Tampa operations was like coming home for me because I had done this before, right? So I was all in on building the best relationships with business and civic leaders in that community, university presidents, so we could ensure that we were attracting the best talent the market had had to bear. And building really great relationships with strategic partners, recruiting organizations and other organizations that would help us hire 150 people in, I don't know, like a 4-month period. We were hiring at scale. And so the partners that we chose were very important, and they all came to be through relationships. My first task was, of course, hiring the best leadership team, the leadership team that would believe in this opportunity as much as I did. And once that happened, we were off. And to this day, what we built in that market is one of the most treasured experiences that I've had. So to say that I was all in Tampa would truly be an understatement of probably the century. This was also a period when I started to make doing good just as important as doing well. So I started to focus on giving back to the community. That meant joining boards of Dress for Success, the local Economic Development Council, and also co-founding an organization called Fee League, which is aimed at lifting women up through their career journeys, through meaningful connections and networks. Because the Tampa Center at that time was running itself, right? We had a great team, brought great people into the organization. And so I was getting a little antsy again. I was ready for more. I was ready for something bolder. I was ready for something truly uncommon. I was ready to take on a role that no one in my demographic had ever tackled. I was ready for Hush Black Club. If it wasn't obvious, that's also Hush Black Club too. But as I close on this here, I want to highlight something that I feel is important, because I felt very alone when I was experiencing the things that I experienced personally in this era. And it has to do with life kind of throwing you lemons. Know that if your life doesn't end up exactly what you thought it would be, it's probably going to end up being even better. And sometimes you need to trust the process, and the things that are happening in your life don't make sense when they're happening. But eventually they do. I mentioned I'm a stepmom. I have 4 beautiful stepkids.
Wow.
And so what a beautiful silver lining of a diagnosis that at the time was very devastating. So I would just encourage everyone to trust the process. Look for ways to cope, and I do think that's something different for everyone. So, Area 3, don't worry guys, this is the last one. Area 3. Nice girls get the corner office. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to Era 1 for a moment. So I'm probably 26, 27 years old. I'm sleeping in my storage loft. I'm reading business books at night because I was a little nerdy. And I was reading this book that shall remain unnamed, but the advice in the book went a little something like this. So I'm going to read it. If you work nonstop without a break, worry about offending others, and back down too easily, explain too much when asked questions, or poll your friends and colleagues before making a decision, chances are you've been bypassed for promotions and ignored when you expressed your ideas. Although you may not be aware of it, girlish behaviors, such as these, are sabotaging your career. Well, okay. Well, that book and other things that happened in my life could have easily dampened what I could have envisioned being, or even having the foresight to see myself in a C-level position. I was told by my 8th grade principal that I was too social to succeed in an advanced math course. For those of you from New York State, it was a Regents level course in 8th grade. Well, P.S. I ended up getting a 98 on that Regents exam, so thank you very much, sister. I won't include her last name. I was not hired by a Wall Street law firm years later because I was too happy. They said, we're just not happy. And so they hired a competitor, and that project, I think, ended up failing miserably.
Just now.
And then years later, a skeptical colleague at a prior firm said I'd never last because of my optimistic disposition. And of course, 10 years later, I was thriving in that organization. I don't know about all of you, but I've always found that having a good work ethic, being empathetic when making decisions, so caring about how the way you say things land with the person who's across the table from you, being transparent, or polling or engaging your friends. P.S. Mine all happen to be very successful business leaders. I thought of that as a good thing. In fact, when thinking through complex business issues, engaging with those that we trust, and I refer to them as my external board of advisors, personal board of advisors, is one of the most powerful things we can do. And it's actually been the cornerstone of my success in business. Being all, we're gonna miss a good one.
I'll get you back.
Testing, testing.
There we go.
Okay, ready for the good one. Being all in on being human is never a bad idea.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, you have to deliver results, you have to be superior in your job, you have to be brave enough to make tough decisions, but that doesn't mean that you have to be a jerk. Why do I share all this? Because you've probably felt discouraged at times too. I share this because all the things that book was telling me not to do were the exact same principles that I deployed in business that actually got more done than leaders who don't subscribe to empathetic leadership and transparency.
Amen.
Now you know how I feel about that book. I also wanted to share it because by the time Press Blackwell came knocking, I was ready to lead as me. And they got that. Very smart firm. A little bit of context on this role. I never thought I could be a CEO in the legal space, right? Because, well, our firm is the only law firm that has empowered a business professional to lead in that capacity. I was pretty convinced that I would need to leave the industry, start over, maybe find someone who would give me a stretch opportunity to do something in an industry that would have been a little bit newer. So I was contemplating making that move. And then an organization that's here this week contacted me and said, hey, Jamie, we have a job description. We're doing a search, a CE search, chief executive search for a law firm. I said, a law firm? You're kidding. A law firm? I'm not a lawyer. And it was very interesting because I learned that this firm, Rush Blackwell, was all in on empowering business people, like all in, empowering us to run the business. And so, of course, as soon as it got real, what did? I did what a lot of us do. I came up with every reason why I couldn't do the job. Maybe I'd have to move again. You know, this stuff that we tell ourselves from time to time. So a few weeks passed, and then I attended a women's leadership conference with a CEO who I partnered with to build the Tampa operations. And she was on a panel, and one of the topics was imposter syndrome. And one woman in particular was talking about a job that she was a little timid about going after, and she was, when they called her the offer, she was ready to say no, and something in her just said, blurted out yes. And then she said it was game-changing, it was life-changing, and everything that happened after that was incredible. And so her comments inspired me to call that wonderful organization that's here this week, who had called me, the recruiter who had called me about this job, and expressed my interest to apply. Now, at that point in time, this was only like probably about a year and a half ago, I'd worked way too long and hard to be anything other than me. So I went into the interview process saying, okay, I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to be myself. If they like it, great. If not, that's okay. In fact, I interviewed them just as much as they interviewed me. I was looking for a place where my natural strengths could be leveraged to their highest value. I was looking for a place where, as I said, I could lead as me. And so after 8 months, 10 months actually, 10 months with this firm, and 1,000 candidates, I got the job. And so as I start this new era and this new role, I thought it might be helpful to share some things that I've learned over the past 9 months as I've been in this role. First of all, it's a hard job. It's hard. It's not 24/7, it's 25/8. You deal with all the gnarly stuff that just can't get resolved elsewhere. You know, nothing comes to the chief executive unless it's complicated. So every day is a new adventure in problem solving. Relationships are still everything. Building trust is still just as important as it was when I was at Accenture. I have to make really complicated and tough decisions every day. And so I lead with doing what's right. I say, just do the right thing. What's the best thing for the business and for the people? And that allows me to put my head on the pillow each night and sleep, because I know at least I've tried to do what's right. I've also learned that we own our own boundaries, right? It's on us to set those. And I think that's a lesson for anyone in life. I think it's important to step away and do things that you love to refuel and recharge. You know, for me, that's weekly massages, but not because they're a luxury, but because they're a necessity. There's always ways to find these opportunities to refuel in the workplace too. I think if you can find opportunities to lead committees that are focused on things you care about, that can be a highlight of your day for sure. Coming to this conference, doing this keynote, such a highlight for me, something so different from the day to day. I try to work out with a trainer twice a week in the mornings. I try. My travel schedule makes it tough, but I try my hardest. I continue to make compromises in my life, but I am no longer interested in compromising who I am. I try to be radically transparent, probably to a fault. And I'm becoming better at being all in when it comes to spending time with my family. I really am. I try to be present. I know when to put the phone down. I make an effort to visit in or squeeze in like family visits when I'm traveling because I spend most of my time on the road. So I'll visit my family in Boston or New York or California. Because it's important that I have strong relationships with my family, my nieces, my nephews, my stepkids. It's important for me. So I've been all in on being me and living my truth as a leader, and I haven't tried to do things as others would. I've been following my instincts and my gut. There will always be skeptics, especially when you're doing something that's unusual or uncommon. People will question you, and not everyone will understand you, but at the end, being all in on being you is what matters most. So in closing, as I reflect on the eras of my career, what I've learned most is that there is a distinct difference between being all in and having it all. As you'll recall, my father was the first one to tell me that I could have anything, but not everything. Having it all is not achievable, let's be clear. But being all in on the things that matter the most to you during specific periods of your life is what I think it's all about. Having the growth mindset to pivot and focus on different things that you decide to be all in on, I think that's what creates fulfillment. So regardless of the area you find yourself in today, at this very moment, I encourage you to be all in on what matters the most to you. Thank you so much.
We collected questions prior to this. So, you know, we're not going to let you off the hook right yet.
Uh-oh, maybe my mic won't work.
I brought it back up. But before I get into the questions, so I couldn't help but notice there seems to be quite a cheering section coming from over this way. Did you bring some special folks with you today?
Did. So we have, I'm very fortunate to be here with senior leaders and colleagues from Hush Blackwell, who worked very closely with me to produce everything we produced today. In fact, I was rehearsing with the team yesterday, and Caitlin said, well, it's not just Jamie, it's like Jamie and the team. Like we are here together, and I think it's such a great testament of our culture and who we are. Nothing that we do is about us, it's really about the team, and so I was so fortunate to have them here with me. They're also presenting on different panels today, which is fantastic. And my aunt and uncle are here. They have a place in Southern California. Aunt Eileen and Uncle Brad, I'm so glad that you are here.
That's great. So, like I said, we collected questions before, and I think, you know, I have probably 100 more questions after listening to you, but we'll stick to the script for now. I know we only have about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
So the first question, being a business person in your role and not a lawyer, how do you view your relationship with other business professionals in the firm? You think you treat them differently than a lawyer might in the role?
It's a great question. So I'm definitely one of them. Like, I'm very clear when I meet with the business professionals. I'm like, I'm one of you. We're in this together. And so I certainly advocate on behalf of the business professionals in a way that's probably unique because I've been in their shoes. But on the flip side, I've been in the service industry for so long, servicing lawyers, that I think I strike a really good balance between advocating for both and really positioning the business professionals and our lawyers as being one team. But being a business professional, I do think that our teams may find me more relatable than they would someone who hasn't done the jobs that they've done or been in their shoes.
Yep. And over your 25-year career, what do you think have been the biggest changes? What are the biggest changes that you've seen over that time?
I've seen lawyers make really meaningful changes to embrace and empower business professionals to the extent that I don't think they were doing 25 years ago, which is great. I think they're, the ones who get it, understand that we're really good at
There we go. Whoops.
Waiting for the guy with the hook to come out.
Just trying to figure out how to turn this one on. Test. Oh, you're both off. All right. Should we sing?
Yes.
Yeah. Usually only lasts a little bit. Let me get it back on. So it's bound to pop on any second. Something's wrong with their soundboard.
Project from the diaphragm, Kevin.
Oh my God.
Sing, Kevin.
Yeah, I am actually singing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just saying that I think lawyers are starting to trust and empower business professionals and learn that, we're really skilled at doing what we do and they're skilled as lawyers. And I wouldn't want a lawyer sending me to court. And I wouldn't let them have like a lawyer necessarily, preparing a forma, managing expenses. So I think we've come a long way there. I also think that, and I alluded to this, that the generations in the workforce are plentiful, and so I've seen a shift in what some of the younger lawyers and business professionals want to do longer term than what I used to see, which is, if you're a lawyer, you join a firm and the goal is to make partner. That's not the case anymore, and so we need to be really creative with how we develop and create different career paths for not only lawyers, but the business professionals as well.
For sure, yeah. And so take out your crystal ball now. What do you think the biggest changes in the next 5 to 10 years will look like?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the generation. I really do. I mean, it's easy to talk about artificial intelligence, and that's gonna make us more productive. Behind the scenes, I think it'll make our lawyers more productive when it comes to deploying those technologies in a way that's ethical, of course. But I think that I think Gen Z is just going to teach us new ways of leading and working, and if we don't embrace that, we are going to be left behind.
What?
You're welcome, Gen Z.
So, as a business professional, right, talking to a room of over 1,000 marketers, what can marketers do today to learn the business of law better?
Yeah, so I talked about this in my formative years. Job shadowing is really, I think, powerful. I've spent time, when we were building the Tampa operations, I wanted to know, get into the weeds. My biggest fear is being someone on Undercover Boss, where I go somewhere and I'm is this mucked up? Oh my gosh. So I was I need to spend a lot of time with the teams. And so I would sit with a biller, I'd sit with a collector, I'd sit with a business development and pitch proposal analyst, you name it. And I thought it was really helpful for me to kind of follow the client life cycle. So how are we pursuing business, pitching business, landing business, servicing business, billing for our business, collecting on our services, kind of wash, rinse, or repeat. So I encourage you to spend as much time as you can understanding kind of the client life cycle from a internal functional perspective. The business teams that are supporting each of those parts in the journey, I think, can be really helpful.
And so this next question, you definitely touched on, but I think it's a good.
By the way, your billers are all going to freak out when you go back next week and you're I'd like to sit with you for a day. Why Why is my CMO sitting with me all day? So be nice.
So Taylor Swift talks a lot about mentors and role models. And for the moment, we're going to leave out Texas. Who has been a guiding light in your career journey? And how have they influenced you?
Yeah, so it started with my dad, who I talked about, who from a very young age said, you can be anything, like sky's the limit. And so there were no limitations from a kind of the art of the possible, like no limitations there. And my mom was really big on encouraging us to support ourselves and to make sure that we were self-sufficient and meaning my sister and I and my brother, that we, could support ourselves. And so that created, I think, just this kind of crazy work ethic early on to be able to take care of myself. And then my dad said, you can do anything you want. Later in life, I would say that my mentors have been the CEOs and COOs that I mentioned in my keynote, who gave me stretch opportunities and were like, you've got this, just go do it. And I would say most recently, it's my personal board of directors who happen to be my friends. My husband is the president of my personal board, and always the first to say, just go for it, like you've got this. And so surrounding myself with people who believe in me and give me that confidence is, I think, really game changing. And so surround yourself with people who believe in you and are also doing pretty cool stuff themselves, because that's really inspiring to be in their company.
Very inspiring, for sure. And so last question.
Yeah.
What's the one thing or the most important thing that you want the audience to hear one more time?
I think it's what I said in my closing, really. I would encourage everyone that you have 2 days to really reflect on this, depending on how much program work you're doing and how much partying you're doing late to the evening next door to my room. Joking. But, just to be all in the aspects of your life that feel appropriate at that moment. Give yourself some grace, be easy on yourself, right? What we're doing is not easy. And so give yourself a lot of grace and be all in on what matters the most to you. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It matters what you think and what you believe in. And just go for it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, on behalf of the association, we really, really appreciate you spending all your time coming here and preparing and sharing your story with us. It's really amazing and inspiring and uncommon.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone.
I hope that you also think about your own journeys. And before we break, I have to thank again Catherine, Morgan, Amber, and the entire annual conference advisory committee for their incredible work on this year's program and bringing us all together. Right now, 10 o'clock, we are going to head over to the LMA Marketplace, which is right downstairs. So networking, there's some snacks, talk to the exhibitors and sponsors. Don't forget, breakout sessions start at 10:30, and tonight at 5:30, we're going to transform this ballroom to under the sea.
Yeah.
So we'll be back here then, and thank you all again for coming.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.